Chapter 1 Yujieyin System. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I really crossed. Tianji Realm, Xianzhou, Northern Territory, Tianyan Dynasty, the good-for-nothing Prince Dongfang Yuan who spends his days walking the dog, hanging on the fence, listening to music, and singing every night. Dongfang Yuan woke up from his bed at this moment and looked around. He was in a brilliantly decorated palace. Beside the bed, there are several women's belly bands of various colors. From these memories that poured into his brain, Dongfang Yuan also completely understood. I have traveled to a fantasy world, and he traveled directly to the top power in the Northern Territory, the crown prince of the Tianyan Dynasty, but the prince's current situation is not good. Just half a day ago, news came from the border battlefield that the emperor of the Tianyan Dynasty, the father of the original owner, was plotted by three powerful men in the Dharma realm from the Northern Territory, together with the millions of troops from the Tianyan Dynasty. They were all killed in the battle. After the news spread back to the government and the public, his younger brother, the second prince Dongfang Yuan, immediately attacked him. Dongfang Yuan's mother was assassinated when she gave birth to him. Therefore, Dongfang Yuan was deeply loved by Emperor Tianyan, who even defied all objections and made him the crown prince. But Dongfang Yuan is a real waste of cultivation. He has no intention of practicing all day long and is addicted to women. Therefore, the original owner was poisoned by the second prince using a honey trap, and finally died in bed. It's really as ruthless as the emperor's family. Dongfang Yuan, your methods are quite sinister. You can actually let people poison that place. You are quite cruel. Dongfang Yuan came back to his senses at this moment. Thinking of the feeling in his memory, he felt a little cold between his legs. At this moment, he slowly stood up and Dongfang Yuan checked his body. Got it. The middle stage of the Xiantian realm, compared with his good brother who wanted to ascend the throne, he was really different. Dongfang Xinda has extremely high cultivation talent, and even has the legendary Supreme Bone. He is a well-known genius in the entire Northern Territory. He has even joined the Fengyun sect, the dominant force in the Northern Territory. He has won the attention of a high-ranking powerful man in the Fengyun sect and even accepted him as a disciple. No. Now that my father is dead, the court is in chaos. How can I fight against Dongfang Yuan with my weak body and bones? Dongfang Yuan is as big as 1 and 2 at the moment. Some people from next door traveled through time and immediately started to be invincible, overwhelming everything. Why did he get here? It was full of dangers, internal and external troubles, and just when Dongfang Yuan was full of despair, ding. Suddenly, a particularly pleasant voice came out of my mind. That voice is. Dongfang Yuan suddenly raised his head, looking a little unbelievable. It is detected that the host is depressed and meets the activation conditions. The system is being activated. Please wait. 1%, 9%. 50.00%, 7, 90.00%, 100%, system activation successful. A cold, mechanical but Yujieyin-like voice sounded completely in Dongfang Yuan's mind. Is this Teacher Tsang's voice? No, that's not right. This is the system. Yujieyin system sound. System? Dongfang Yuan asked tentatively. I am here. Then a voice full of mechanical lady style answered him, oh shit. Can't go wrong. The sound of this system is also composed with Teacher Tsang's template. I heard it right just now. Dongfang Yuan was very excited. This system is so humane, even the voice is the voice of his first love. It is so wonderful. System, what function do you have? Dongfang Yuan asked with curiosity. You know, the Zhou cult leader next door, the God King, the God Emperor, etc. all rely on the system to take off. These are super thighs. Whether he can soar into the sky in the future depends on whether he can hold them tightly. Ding. The system has 2 functions in total. The first one is to develop the Tianyan Dynasty. The more powerful the dynasty is, the more open territory it has, and the higher the prestige value, the more generous rewards it can receive. Development Dynasty. Look at this, I have to inherit this throne. Dongfang Yuan touched his chin and said, but now that the system is in place, he is no longer afraid of his younger brother. With the system around him, it would have to pry his supreme bones apart, and he would be sorry for the poison he had put so much effort into inflicting on himself. The second function is to establish a concubine and have a concubine. As long as the concubine gives birth to an heir, she can get rewards. The better the qualifications or physique of the heir, the richer the rewards will be. Special emphasis: the concubine's destiny value must be at least 80 or above. The minimum standard of physical fitness is holy body, and the minimum standard of qualification is extraordinary. The higher the two standards, the stronger the offspring will be. Fog grass grass grass. The minimum standard of physique is holy body, the minimum standard of qualification is extraordinary. System: are you kidding me? Can I find this condition? Dongfang Yuan has some doubts about life. You know, the gold content of the holy body and the extraordinary is already so high that it almost reaches the sky. The physical levels in this world are mortal body, spiritual body, royal body, imperial body, holy body, divine body, and immortal body. The qualification levels are inferior, medium, superior, extraordinary, and immeasurable. If these two conditions are met at once, as well as having a destiny value of more than points that day, I am afraid that no one can be found in the entire Northern Territory. Even his younger brother, who is pregnant with the supreme bone, only has an imperial body. And his qualifications are even higher, but they are still one step behind. As for the geniuses at the holy body level, there are probably only a few among the billions of creatures in the entire Northern Territory. Holy body, as the name suggests, if you practice to great perfection in the future, you will definitely be able to break through the realm of a saint. Moreover, his combat power is unparalleled, and he is also known as being invincible in the same realm. Such monsters are almost always treasures in the palm of the top forces in Xianzhou. According to Dongfang Yuan's knowledge, there are no more than 10 holy bodies in the entire Xianzhou Ming dynasty. How can I find these requirements and conditions? This is the problem of the host. The system does not include matching, so the host is asked to find it himself. Dongfang Yuan felt bitter inside, but at this moment, he remembered something. By the way, system, where is my newcomer gift package? You can't refuse to give it. I have to have what others have. Otherwise, with my current strength, let alone having a concubine, I'm afraid I will be killed by my younger brother once I leave the palace. Dongfang Yuan demanded in pursuit. He didn't lie at all. With his current useless body, he was afraid of being hit by Dongfang Xian's supreme bone, so he just put up a white flag and held a big banquet. P.S. Xiantian realm, Qi gathering realm, spirit guiding realm, earth profound realm, Tian Xian realm, wandering dragon realm, heavenly realm, Xiao realm, Dharma phase realm, Tianzun realm, semi-saint, saint, great saint, saint king, saint emperor. Chapter 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. System. Ding. Newbie gift package has been sent. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Tianzun Realm Cultivation Card X1, and the Dharma Realm Peak Killing Divine Guard X4. Infinite Qualifications. Hongmeng Chaos Magic X1. All of a sudden, 4 figures suddenly appeared next to Dongfang Yuan. All 4 of them were wearing golden armor and holding dragon-slaying golden swords. They were invincible and contained an unparalleled power within their bodies. Meet the master. After the 4 people appeared, they all saluted Dongfang Yuan. Don't be too polite. Dongfang Yuan was extremely excited. With these 4 god-slaying guards, what else did he fear from Dongfang Xian? What kind of natural supreme bones? In the end, it didn't make me a wedding dress for myself. The peak of the Dharma realm. This kind of strength is enough to be called a giant in the entire Northern Territory. In their Tianyan Dynasty alone, apart from his father, the only powerful ministers in the dynasty were at this level. Their Tianyan Dynasty was the top force in the Northern Territory, and there were only 2 people at the peak of the Dharma realm. Now that Dongfang Yuan has 4 people by his side, it can be said that he already has the capital to go sideways. System. Use the Tianzun Realm Cultivation Card. Dongfang Yuan said immediately. Tianzun Realm Cultivation Card, currently in use. Dongfang Yuan's body suddenly flashed with inspiration, and then, the cultivation aura on his body was soaring at an incredible speed. the peak of the Xiantian realm, Tianxian realm, happy realm, Dharma realm, heavenly realm. I saw that Dongfang Yuan's cultivation was directly fixed at the cultivation stage of the first level of Tianzun realm. He felt that his whole body was full of power, and his entire consciousness spread out, covering the entire palace in an instant. Dongfang Yuan was very satisfied with his current strength, and he also restrained his aura and did not reveal his pressure wantonly. A strong man in the heavenly realm, this is extremely rare in the entire Northern Territory. Basically, only the dominant forces in the Northern Territory such as Fengyun sect can have powerful people at the level of Tianzun, including some relatively powerful top forces. There will also be one or two Tianzun level beings, but now that his realm has soared to the Tianzun realm, he no longer looks down upon Dongfang Yuan. In the following time, he was not in a hurry to leave his dormitory. Instead, under the protection of the 4 god-slaying guards, he began to practice the Hongmeng Chaos Divine Art. West Palace. At this time, in a magnificent palace, the figure of the second prince Dongfang Yuan was standing in the palace, with several figures around him. "Are you sure he is really dead?" That at this time, Dongfang Yuan asked a charming woman in front of him. If Dongfang Yuan were here, he would definitely be able to recognize at a glance that this woman was the one who poisoned him. Back to the second prince, it's absolutely true. This servant only came back after confirming that his life was lost. There is no way he will survive in the world again. The woman replied. "Okay, good job. Ha 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 ha. In that case, go down and have a good rest." Dongfang Yuan smiled, and then glanced at the old man next to him. The latter understands. Yes, the servant will leave. What? The woman was about to turn around and leave, but the old man suddenly took action, condensing a stream of flames and blasted her. The power and aura at the peak of Xiao realm is completely unstoppable to this woman. After hearing a scream, it was instantly burned to ashes by the flames, erasing all traces of its existence. Joke. How could I leave you as a threat to survive in the world? Well, women are really big-breasted and brainless. Dongfang Yuan smiled disdainfully and saw him slowly turning around and looking out of the palace and walking away, while saying, "My father was really confused and passed the position of prince to Dongfang Yuan. Now that he is dead, what can he do with that trash? Maybe I can get revenge for you. Father, don't blame me for being cruel. It's just that Dongfang Yuan is not worthy of the throne. Only I can take over this throne and save the Tianyan Dynasty from this crisis." Dongfang Yuan walked outside the palace, looked at the sky, and sighed. "Your Highness, since the crown prince is dead now, it is almost time to summon all the officials so that His Highness can succeed to the throne, so as to attack the damning dynasty and avenge His Majesty." Another old man in official uniform stood nearby and spoke. This person's name is Zhang Lin. He is the Grand Tutor of the Tianyan Dynasty. He holds the rank of first grade, and his cultivation strength is in the middle stage of Dharma realm. The old man who took action earlier was named Tai Han, and he was a second-grade general. Both of them were officials of the Tianyan Dynasty, but it was obvious that they were on Dongfang Yuan's side. "Okay, in that case, Tutor, I'll leave it to you to make arrangements. Summon the civil and military forces and prepare to take over the ceremony." Dongfang Yuan said with a trace of ambition flashing in his eyes. "Yes. Your Highness." Zhang Lin saluted and responded. In Tai's womb, Dongfang Yuan's current aptitude is the highest level of immeasurable. After he devoted himself to practicing the Hongmeng Chaos Divine Art, it didn't take long for him to master this technique. Now he felt the fighting power all over his body, and he felt like he had been reborn. This Hongmeng Chaos Divine Art is really not a mortal thing. Although it is only the upper part, with my current strength, my cultivation level at the first level of Tianzun realm is enough to compare with the 7th level of Tianzun realm. If I have a complete training method, then my combat power will probably be even higher. Dongfang Yuan slowly stood up at this time and ended his practice. Stare. It has been detected that the Great Dream Dynasty has a daughter of destiny, Xiao Qingli, with a destiny value of 95 points, a divine body of 9 nethers, and Lingdao qualifications. She is the reincarnation of the Empress of 9 nethers. She is currently awakened. It is recommended that she be adopted as a concubine. It was found that the Xuanhuan sect has a daughter of destiny, Han Wanxiang, with a destiny score of 85, a holy body of Xuanhuan, extraordinary qualifications, and a natural charm. With her dual cultivation, the host's cultivation level will definitely have a huge breakthrough. It is recommended that she be adopted as a concubine. At this time, as soon as Dongfang Yuan finished practicing, two system prompts appeared directly in his mind, two daughters of destiny. One of them turned out to be the reincarnation of the Empress, the nine-nether divine body. Dear me, I didn't expect that she is the third princess of the Great Dream Dynasty and the reincarnation of Empress Jiuyou. What a coincidence! Dongfang Yuan also shrank his pupils slightly, feeling a little emotional. There was no other reason, but because his father was killed because he was designed by the emperor of the Tianyan Dynasty to ambush him at the peak of the Dharma realm of the other two forces, and he finally died on the border battlefield. It can be said that the first thing Dongfang Yuan will do after taking over the throne is to attack the Tianyan Dynasty and destroy it to avenge his father. But at this moment it turns out that Xiao Qingli, the third princess of the Dream Dynasty, is the daughter of destiny. After destroying the Dream Dynasty and taking Xiao Qingli as his concubine, Xiao Qingli would probably hate herself to death. It can only be said that it is fate. If you hate it, hate it. Empress Jiuyou, just be obedient and prepare to give birth to my child. Dongfang Yuan smiled inwardly. Now that he has the system in hand, he has no worries that his cultivation speed will be slower than Xiao Qingli's. No matter how much Xiao Qingli hated him in the end, he still believed that he could fall in love with the Empress over time. As for the Xuanhuan sect member, he doesn't plan to spend too much time on it at the moment. The Xuanhuan sect is the dominant force in the northern territory, and the Tianyan Dynasty cannot compete with it yet. Previously, they had to take it step by step and attack the Tianyan Dynasty first. However, with the system in hand, Dongfang Yuan also believed that it wouldn't take long before Han Wanxiang could not escape from his grasp. The holy body of Acacia, natural charm, the combination of yin and yang, the cold and warm ocean. Ahem, it's really exciting to think about it. Chapter 3 Tianzun Realm Cultivation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. System: how much is the prestige of our Tianyan Dynasty now? Prestige value of Tianyan Dynasty, 1,200. Special reminder, the host can only increase the prestige of the dynasty after succeeding to the throne. Every time the prestige value increases by the host can get a reward. In addition, there are also prestige value achievement rewards. After the prestige value reaches 2, 3, 5, etc., the host will be able to receive an achievement gift package from the system, which contains generous rewards. After hearing the systematic answer in his mind, Dongfang Yuan also nodded slightly. It seems that the top priority is to inherit the throne first, and then talk about other things. Dongfang Yuan was thinking this way when suddenly he heard a commotion at the door. The four god-slaying guards sensed the approaching aura of the stranger and were about to take action, but were stopped by Dongfang Yuan's signal. After today, this Tianyan dynasty will completely belong to His Highness the Second Highness. We have tolerated it for so long, and finally we can make a difference. In the end, I still don't understand why His Majesty would make Dongfang Yuan the Crown Prince when His Majesty the Second Highness is such a monster. How can he, a lust-obsessed loser, be worthy of being compared with His Highness? Why are you still worrying about this? Now His Highness has summoned the civil and military officials of the court in the main hall and is ready to take over the throne. We only need to bring Dongfang Yuan's body over and complete the simple task His Highness has given us. Dongfang Yuan's cultivation was so high now that he heard the whispers of two men from afar, and their steps gradually approached. Without even knocking on the door, knowing that Dongfang Yuan was dead, they pushed the door open and entered. Creak. As soon as the door opened, two middle-aged men walked in directly. Their originally calm expressions, but the moment they pushed the door open and saw Dongfang Yuan looking at them, they were immediately stunned. Dongfang Yuan. Oh no. 2, Your Highness the Prince. You, how did you? The expressions of the two middle-aged men changed drastically. They were both wearing armor. When they saw Dongfang Yuan and the 4 god-slaying guards in the room, their minds were in a mess and they didn't know what to say for a moment. How come? How could Dongfang Yuan still be alive? Could it be that His Highness's information is wrong? These questions were lingering in the minds of the 2 people at the moment, and they were also stunned, not knowing how to explain. Colonel Li, Captain Lin, what do you 2 want to do when you break into my crown prince's womb privately? Dongfang Yuan had a playful smile on his face and asked. We. The 2 captains looked a little embarrassed for a moment and couldn't find any excuses. I just heard you say that the second prince has gathered civil and military officials and plans to succeed to the throne, right? Look, I'm not dead. He is destined to be disappointed. Dongfang Yuan looked at the 2 of them and said calmly. Hearing this, the 2 captains looked shocked. You know. One of the captains asked in shock. You think you can kill me by sending a woman? He underestimates me too much. Although Dongfang Yuan said this, he was the Dongfang Yuan who had traveled through time. If he had been the original owner, it was true that a woman would have killed him. When the 2 captains heard this, they both trembled. Then they looked at each other and understood the other's inner decision. The figures of the 2 people flashed out instantly, dagger blades appeared in their hands, and the aura of the dragon wandering realm level was emitted, and the pressure formed an invisible blockade, blocking Dongfang Yuan's retreat. Dongfang Yuan, if this is the case, let us 2 give you a ride again. Your Highness's great cause cannot be stopped by a loser like you. 2 captains, one on the left and one on the right, jointly attacked Dongfang Yuan. Now that they have been discovered, they have no scruples. As long as they take Dongfang Yuan's body to the main hall, their mission will be successfully completed. Seeing the 2 people attacking and killing him, Dongfang Yuan stood on the spot, not hiding or evading, and even the expression on his face did not change from the beginning to the end, still looking calm and calm. Bang! At this time, just when the weapons of the 2 men were about to pierce Dongfang Yuan's body, a sword light swept directly past, and the strong wind was like countless hurricanes. In an instant, the 2 men were seriously injured and knocked away. It hit the floor hard. It was a god-slaying guard who took action. He didn't even draw the sword, but simply swung his sword energy with 2 fingers together, seriously injuring the 2 of them until they were disabled. Puff! How could it happen? How come you have such a strong person next to you? The 2 captains were seriously injured and fell to the ground, vomiting blood, and their eyes were full of fear. Dongfang Yuan smiled slightly, and then, his body leaked a hint of the pressure of the Tianzun realm, and controlled the range of release within his own house. Heaven, Tianzun realm. The 2 captains, who were seriously injured and paralyzed on the ground, all said in unison in horror. Their expressions were as if they had seen a ghost, and their eyes were filled with fear. To them, it was like a dream. A well-known good-for-nothing prince, his cultivation level has actually reached the heavenly realm. This is the heavenly realm. The most powerful person in the Northern Territory, in the entire Tianyan Dynasty. No one in the Tianzun realm could be found. As a result, the good-for-nothing prince who spent all day listening to music and singing every night actually reached the Tianzun realm. How is this possible? And just as the 2 of them looked frightened, the aura emitted by Dongfang Yuan crushed them. Bang bang. Suddenly, the 2 captains were directly crushed by the pressure of the Tianzun realm, turned into 2 puffs of blood mist, and disappeared into the air. After killing these 2 insignificant people, Dongfang Yuan smiled evilly on his face and said, the civil and military officials of the dynasty are celebrating the succession ceremony. I wonder what their expressions will be when they see me. Let's go to the main hall. Yes. The 4 god-slaying guards responded. Chapter 4. The Prince is Dead. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this time, all the civil and military officials were summoned to the main hall of Tianyan Dynasty. There was also some discussion on the field, and the 2 old men standing in the first row on the left and right all exuded the aura of Dharma realm level cultivation. One of them is Wang Yuexing, the national master. He is in the late stage of Dharma realm and is now the 3rd strongest person in the Tianyan Dynasty. The other person is Xuanhuan, the left prime minister of the Tianyan Dynasty. His cultivation at the peak of the Dharma realm is undoubtedly the number one in the Tianyan Dynasty, but at this moment, all of them died in the battle because of Emperor Tianyan. They were wearing white mourning clothes and had gloomy expressions on their faces. Grand Tutor Zhang Lin stood behind the imperial master, looking outside the palace gate, silent. Clatter. At this time, the sound of footsteps came in, and all the civil and military officials looked at it. The second prince Dongfang Yuan, dressed in mourning clothes, walked into the hall in full view of everyone, and sat on the dragon throne at the top. Some officials couldn't help but be a little confused when they saw Dongfang Yuan sitting on the throne, but they hesitated to speak. Prime Ministers glanced at Dongfang Yuan deeply, then glanced at the imperial master and the grand tutor. Then he remained silent and waited to see what Dongfang Yuan would say. The Great Dream Dynasty, together with the Blood Shadow House and the Xiao Palace, used conspiracy and tricks to kill my father on the border battlefield, and also wiped out all the millions of lions in my Tianyan dynasty. Not long ago, the Blood Shadow Studio even sent a killer to sneak into the Taiwan Palace and secretly murder my brother. By the time he was discovered, my brother was already dead and there was no way to save him. I was deeply saddened. They killed my father first, and then my brother. With this hatred, our Tianyan dynasty will definitely be at odds with them. But a country cannot live without a king for a day. If the Tianyan dynasty falls into chaos because of this, it will play into their hands. Therefore, I, Dongfang Yuan, hereby express that from today on, I will take over the position of Emperor Tianyan. Do you have any objections? Dongfang Yuan sat on the dragon throne and spoke with grief on his face. What? His Royal Highness the Crown Prince is dead. Many officials in the palace were deeply shocked after hearing the news. The Prime Ministers Hua and Tai Poyan, the general of the Tianyan dynasty behind him, all narrowed their pupils slightly and took a deep look at Dongfang Yuan. How could the two of them not understand that Yujieyin had no reason to assassinate His Highness the Crown Prince? It could even be said that they were eager for His Highness the Crown Prince to succeed to the throne, so how could they kill him? But now that Dongfang Yuan has announced that His Highness the Crown Prince is dead, anyone with a bit of discernment can guess who the real murderer is. However, the palace is heavily guarded by imperial guards. How did the killer from the Blood Shadow Tower manage to sneak into the palace of the Crown Prince silently? Some officials expressed their doubts. Huang Lichuan, the commander-in-chief of the imperial guards, stood in the hall and explained, the infiltrator is a Dharma realm killer. He is too strong and our imperial guards are no match for him. Fortunately, the Taifu arrived and was able to repel him. What? The Blood Shadow Tower has dispatched a law-level killer. Isn't that a gold medal killer? Many officials were shocked when they heard that Yujieyin is a top killer force. Their killer levels are divided into bronze, silver, gold and ace. The bronze medal killer's cultivation is at least the Tianxian realm, while the silver medal is at least the peak of the Yulong realm. As for the gold medal, the minimum requirement for cultivation is to be at the peak of the heavenly realm, but most of the gold medal killers are at the Dharma realm, the last ace. There are only 2 ace killers in the entire Blood Shadow building, their host and deputy host. As for the gold medal killers, there are only a dozen or so in the Blood Shadow Tower. And all of them are notorious in the Northern Territory. It is really surprising that a gold medal killer would sneak into the palace of their Tianyan dynasty to assassinate the prince. In order to kill a good-for-nothing prince, the Blood Shadow Studio actually dispatched a gold medal killer. If it were true, that would be really ridiculous. Alas, although I repelled him, it was still a step too late. It's a pity that His Highness, the Crown Prince, is so young. Taifu Zhang also said with a sad look on his face. Your Majesty and the Crown Prince were killed one after another. This is not an insult to our Tianyan dynasty. Now, we can only ask His Highness to inherit the throne, revive the government and the public, send troops to the Dream Dynasty, and avenge His Majesty. Tai Han also immediately began to speak solemnly at this moment. That's right. Only the second prince can stabilize the overall situation of the dynasty now. The second prince is a young evildoer from our Tianyan dynasty, and he is a disciple of the overlord-level force Fengyan sect. With the second prince leading our Tianyan Dynasty, I believe we will be able to break through the Great Dream Imperial City and avenge the bloodshed of His Majesty and the Crown Prince. Please ask Your Highness to take over the throne and take charge of the overall situation. Your Highness, please take over the throne. For a moment, many officials spoke in unison as if they had already discussed it, and then they all bowed to Dongfang Yuan. Some officials who were still in a state of confusion also looked at the situation in front of them, and they all followed the trend and bowed down and asked. The Xiao, the national preceptor and the general Tai Poyan were among the three nobles, so they were exempted from the ritual of kneeling and worshipping. They were the only three people standing upright on the field. At this moment, Dongfang Yuan saw that all the officials were already like this, so he pretended, sighed and said, "Okay. Since all the ministers have no objections, then I will take over the position of Emperor of Tianyan Dynasty." Dongfang Yuan immediately took out the founding jade seal of Tianyan Dynasty and held it high in front of him. "My Emperor Yuan. Wait a minute. It would be too early to shout long live the Emperor now." Just when the civil and military officials were about to salute Dongfang Yuan, a voice that was very familiar to Dongfang Yuan suddenly sounded outside the hall. The officials were a little confused and immediately looked back. Then everyone's expression suddenly changed. With a solemn look on Dongfang Yuan's face, he led the four god-slaying guards across the hall and strode straight into the main hall. Xiang and Tai Poyan both looked at each other and saw some doubts in each other's eyes. As for Dongfang Yuan, his pupils suddenly shrank, and a trace of shock and embarrassment flashed across his face, including Tai Fu and Tai Han. Their faces darkened instantly when they saw that Dongfang Yuan was not dead and appeared here. Damn! This stinky woman dares to play tricks on me. Dongfang Yuan's heart was filled with infinite murderous intent at this moment. If he could not wait to drag that woman out of hell and give her a few hard slaps. He vowed that Dongfang Yuan was dead, but now, he was actually standing here alive. Moreover, in addition to anger, Dongfang Yuan also had some doubts in his heart. He clearly sent two people to the Tai Palace to collect Dongfang Yuan's body. Even if Dongfang Yuan was not dead, there was no way they would let him come here. What the hell does this happen? Did the two captains betray him? Your Majesty. Your Highness. You are not dead. This, second prince, tutor, what on earth is going on? Didn't you say that His Highness the Crown Prince has been killed by the killers of the Blood Shadow Tower? Then what is going on? Chapter 5 The National Division Takes Sides. You are listening at novelfull.audio. An official asked in confusion at this moment. His Highness and others said that the prince was dead, but now he is standing here alive. What is the truth behind this is really puzzling. He. Second brother, you really want me to die? Dongfang Yuan looked at Dongfang Yuan at this moment and sneered. When Dongfang Yuan heard this, his expression suddenly changed, and he cursed angrily. You bold thief, you dare to pretend to be my brother. You Shuiying studio really don't know how high the sky is. Come here, kill this thief immediately. We won't allow him to act recklessly in this hall. Dongfang Yuan kept doing nothing, and things had developed to such an extent, so that was all he could do. Yes. At this time, Tai Han responded immediately, and then locked his eyes on Dongfang Yuan, just about to kill him. Wait a minute. Your Highness, how do you know that this person is the fake His Highness the Crown Prince? At this time, a burly middle-aged man asked. This person's name is Xiao, and he is titled King Tianyu. He is the sworn brother of Emperor Tianyan and the only king with a different surname in the Tianyan Dynasty. King Tianyu's voice also forced Tai Han to stop his movements. Dongfang Yuan was very angry. King Tianyu dared to question him publicly. He remembered this account. King Tianyu, I just said that my brother has been killed by the killers of the Shuiying Tower. The Taifu and Commander Huang have witnessed this with their own eyes. Now that this thief appears here in the face of my brother, he must be a fake. Why do we need to explain more? Dongfang Sini said sternly. Yes, I have seen the corpse of His Highness the Crown Prince with my own eyes. This person must be a fake by the killer of the Blood Shadow Studio. The Taifu also immediately spoke out to prove it. What an old dog, following Dongfang Xian, he has learned to protect his master, Dongfang Yuan scolded directly. Presumptuous. The master was furious when he was scolded like this, however, Dongfang Yuan ignored him, and then looked at Dongfang Xian, or rather, the jade seal in his hand. Dongfang Yuan had a thought. Suddenly, the jade seal in Dongfang Xian's hand suddenly disappeared, and the next moment, it appeared inexplicably in Dongfang Yuan's hand. What? You, how could you? Thief, if you dare to damage my jade seal, I will cut you into pieces. Seeing that the jade seal in his hand suddenly appeared in Dongfang Yuan's hand, Dongfang Xian's expression changed with horror, and then his expression became angry, and he shouted a warning. When the powerful men in the palace, including Xiao, Grand Tutor, Imperial Master, and King Tianyu, saw the jade seal appearing in Dongfang Yuan's hand, their pupils suddenly shrank and their eyes trembled, too fast. How on earth did he do it? How could a waste of cultivation take away the jade seal in front of everyone, and even the left Prime Minister didn't react at all? Prime Minister's eyes were fixed on Dongfang Yuan at this moment. He never spoke and chose to watch silently. Since ancient times, the imperial family has been the most ruthless, and there have been many cases of fratricide, but as a subordinate, once you stand in the wrong team, you will be in doom. However, Dongfang Yuan ignored Dongfang Xian and showed a playful smile. Immediately afterwards, in front of everyone, he condensed a drop of blood on his fingertips and dropped it on the jade seal. The blood was fused into the jade seal, and suddenly the entire jade seal golden light array emitted a brilliant and dazzling light, illuminating the entire hall. The Tianyan jade seal, passed down to this day, is still the most important symbol of status. As long as you have royal blood in your body, the jade seal will emit golden light when it comes into contact with its blood, and the higher the purity and richness of the blood, the brighter the golden light will be. How about it? Now you still want to say, am I fake? My good brother. Dongfang Yuan had a playful smile on his face and looked at Dongfang Xian. At this time, Dongfang Xian's face had turned extremely dark, as gloomy as water, and even had a hint of ferocity on his face. The entire hall fell into silence for an instant. No matter how stupid the civil and military officials are, they all understand completely at this moment. The person in front of him is undoubtedly the crown prince of their Tianyan Dynasty, and this also clearly proves that what the Taifu, the commander-in-chief of the Imperial Guard and the second prince said just now that the prince was dead and they saw his body with their own eyes were undoubtedly false. It's just that there are still many people in the palace who don't quite understand, why does His Royal Highness feel like a different person today? Not only the tone of his speech, but also his behavior and the look in his eyes had undergone earth-shaking changes, and just like Xiao, he even felt a faint sense of oppression on Dongfang Yuan. Is it an illusion? Prime Minister Xua had some doubts in his heart and was not sure, because this is so ridiculous. He is at the peak of the Dharma realm and is now the strongest person in the Tianyan Dynasty. The prince, Dongfang Yuan, is just a younger generation, and he is also a waste of cultivation. He has no qualifications and his cultivation level is only at the innate realm. Such a person can kill a large area with just a wave of his fingers, so how could he possibly feel threatened by him? This is probably my own misunderstanding. This is what Xiang thought in his heart. However, facing Dongfang Yuan's questioning, Dongfang Xian looked embarrassed and felt like he had a lump in his throat for a moment, unable to speak. His Royal Highness. Even if you are still alive today, you cannot sit on the throne of the Emperor. As we all know, His Highness's talents and qualifications are extremely outstanding in the entire Northern Territory. He also has a powerful Tianzun realm as his teacher. He is born with supreme bones. He will definitely be able to break through the Tianzun realm in the future and become a powerful person. What the Tianyan Dynasty needs now is a talented master like His Highness. Only Your Highness can lead our Tianyan Dynasty to go further and have the strength to avenge His Majesty. So I ask His Highness the Crown Prince to take care of the overall situation for the sake of the Tianyan Dynasty. The Crown Prince should give up the position of Emperor. At this time, no one expected that the Imperial Master suddenly turned around and spoke to Dongfang Yuan. Chapter 6 Ascending the Throne. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Oh. What the Imperial Master means is that my position as the Crown Prince is just an illusory thing, right? Then if I don't let you, what will happen to you? Dongfang Yuan said with interest on his face. Prince, things have reached this point, do you still want to be stubborn? The Imperial Master said slightly. At this moment, the Imperial Master, the Grand Tutor, and the Imperial Guard Commander were all on the side of the second Prince Dongfang Yuan. It can be said that many other civil and military officials also hoped that Dongfang Yuan could succeed to the throne. After all, Dongfang Yuan has accomplished nothing and has no talent in cultivation. If such a person becomes an emperor, he will only harm the Tianyan Dynasty. Come here, the prince is not feeling well, take him down and take a good rest. As for the throne of the emperor, please ask the second prince to take the throne. We and other ministers will have no objection, that the Imperial Master said immediately when he saw that Dongfang Yuan refused to eat the toast and was fined with wine. Afterwards, Tai Han walked out, trying to suppress Dongfang Yuan and take him down. Boom. But at this moment, as Tai Han approached, a god-slaying guard suddenly took action and cut him into two halves with a sword, causing blood to spill on the spot. What? Dharma realm. All the civil and military officials were shocked. Dongfang Yuan and the Imperial Master all had expressions of disbelief on their faces. The aura floating on this person's body is indeed the cultivation aura of the Dharma realm. Is there a powerful Dharma realm person around the prince? How is this possible? However, before they could figure it out, Prime Minister Xua added a heavy blow. You are the pinnacle of Dharma realm. Prime Minister Xua felt that the aura emanating from the god-slaying guard was indeed the same as his own. He was truly at the peak of Dharma realm and even had a slightly stronger aura than his own. He couldn't help but said in shock. Peak of the aspect realm. When the civil and military officials on the scene heard this, many of them had horrified, confused and trembling expressions on their faces. The faces of the Imperial Master and Dongfang Yuan were also slightly pale at this moment. Why is there someone at the peak of Dharma realm beside Dongfang Yuan? This is the pinnacle of the Dharma realm. He is one of the strongest men in the Northern Territory, and he is actually guarding Dongfang Yuan. But just when everyone was confused, Dongfang Yuan smiled slightly and said, I forgot to introduce you, these four people are my god-killing guards. Their strength is about the same as Versio, the peak of the Dharma realm. I wonder if I can ascend to the throne today with the four of them. Dongfang Yuan's smile was very evil, with a hint of terrifying look. Four peaks of Dharma realm. Before they could be shocked, the aura of cultivation from the other three god-slaying guards began to emanate. The power of the four-peak Dharma realm experts permeated the entire hall. Everyone in the hall, including the Prime Minister Xua, was sweating like rain in an instant and felt tremendous pressure. Even some with relatively weak cultivation couldn't withstand the pressure, and their knees softened and they knelt directly on the ground. Dongfang Yuan was so trembling that he could not speak. At this moment, his back was forced to lower slightly. He was holding on to the huge pressure, clenching his teeth and trembling with a red face to resist. Dongfang Yuan slowly walked up to the Imperial Master. He held the jade seal and looked at him and said, Answer me, am I worthy of sitting on this throne? The Imperial Master is also under tremendous pressure from these four people at this moment. He knows very well that he has offended Dongfang Yuan to death today. He actually had four people at the peak of the Dharma realm under his command. This was undoubtedly a bolt from the blue, forcing him into a desperate situation. Anyway, he would die anyway, so he might as well give it a try. I saw the National Master suddenly raised his head, and then his whole body burst out with momentum. Upon noticing this scene, the Prime Minister Xua and King Tianyu changed their expressions and shouted, Prince, be careful. At the same time, the Imperial Master stretched out his palm and grabbed Dongfang Yuan in front of him. Too late, the Imperial Master had a sneer on his face. He had never thought that Dongfang Yuan would dare to be so careless and walk directly in front of him, and just when the Imperial Master's hand was about to grab his neck, Dongfang Yuan suddenly showed a faint smile on his face. Then a scene that horrified everyone in the hall appeared. Dongfang Yuan grabbed the palm of the Imperial Preceptor with his bare hands, easily breaking his strength, and pinched the Imperial Preceptor's neck with his backhand, lifting him up like a chicken. All the Civil and military officials in the entire hall were shocked when they saw this scene. Dongfang Xian, Taifu, and Huang Quanli were petrified on the spot. What the hell? What did I see? His Royal Highness captured the Imperial Master in an instant. Am I dreaming? Many people couldn't believe it when they saw this scene, no other reason, just because the impact this scene brought to their souls was too great. A good-for-nothing prince with no talent for cultivation could instantly suppress a late-stage Dharma realm person once he took action. This was so suspicious of life, even the Imperial Master himself, who was lifted up, had a look of panic on his face at this moment, fear and doubt filling his heart. Only he himself knows how strong Dongfang Yuan's power is to suppress him at this moment. It was an absolute power that prevented him from even having the slightest thought of resistance. He was so frightened that he couldn't even ask for mercy. Assaulting the king of a country is a crime that must be punished. At this time, the smile on Dongfang Yuan's face also disappeared and he became extremely serious, exuding an emperor's domineering aura from all over his body. Immediately afterwards, he exerted force, and the power of Tianzun level was poured into the body of the national master. Suddenly, the national master's soul couldn't bear the power and imploded and died. The body is crooked, and the vitality is extinguished. Boom. Dongfang Yuan let go of his hand, and the imperial master's body fell directly to his feet. Prime Ministers Hua and others trembled inwardly. Dongfang Yuan glanced at Dongfang Xian seriously at this time, and immediately said, Dongfang Xian, Huang Lichuan, and Zhang Lin used poisonous tactics to murder the emperor. They are really committing a heinous crime. I have ordered that these 3 people be beheaded in the palace as a warning to others. Yes. After Dongfang Yuan finished speaking, the 4 god-slaying guards all responded immediately. Your Highness, please spare your life. We don't dare, Your Highness. We realize our mistake. Please spare us. Prince Hall. Qi, Taifu and Huang Lichuan both cried bitterly and begged for mercy, but before they could finish their last words, 2 god-decapitating guards had already taken action and beheaded them. Another one walked towards Dongfang Xian. No. Brother, you can't kill me, we are brothers. You can't kill me. Seeing that all his henchmen were killed, Dongfang Xian was completely panicked at this moment. Just half mother, not too close. Dongfang Yuan replied indifferently. Blood is thicker than water. Don't come over. Don't come over. My master is the 3rd elder of Fengyun sect. If you dare to kill me, he. Laugh. Before Dongfang Xian finished his last words, the sword that killed the divine guard had already been swung over. With a pop, the heads were separated. Not only that, the small piece of supreme bone on Dongfang Xian's body was also forcibly dug out by the god-slaying guard. In the entire hall, the blood of several corpses flowed together, and even the air was filled with rich blood. Just like that, Dongfang Yuan took the jade seal and sat on the top dragon throne. Long live my emperor, long live, long live. Prime Minister Hua was the first to react and immediately knelt down to show his loyalty. The other civil and military officials all knelt down and saluted after their shock was over. Long live my emperor. Long live. Chapter 7 Xiao Qingli. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dongfang Yuan became the successor to the throne. After the ceremony of taking over, he received the news that the emperor of the Tianyan Dynasty personally led powerful men to attack his Tianyan Dynasty. Above the hall, Dongfang Yuan immediately ordered. Prime Ministers Hua, you and Generalissimo Tai Poyan will personally lead an army of 50 to the battlefield to fight against the Tianyan Dynasty. In addition, I will give you 3 more god-slaying guards. I hope you will not disappoint my expectations. When Prime Minister Hua heard this, he became excited and said, Your Majesty, please rest assured. With the help of Your Majesty's 3 god-killing guards, I will cut off the head of Xiao Tianding and present it to Your Majesty. Okay, I will be waiting for your good news. Suoxiang and Tai Poyan left the hall with high spirits. King Tianyu, there are still several first-rate forces in the southern territory of the Tianyan Dynasty who want to take advantage of the civil strife in the dynasty to get a piece of the pie. Now that I have succeeded to the throne, I will not give them another chance. I will appoint a god-slaying guard to assist you and take over all the territory of those first-rate forces. If they are unwilling to surrender to our Tianyan Dynasty, there is no need to be merciful. From now on, any force that dares to block the expansion of our Tianyan Dynasty will die. Dongfang Yuan also ordered again. He has not forgotten that if he wants to get rewards from the system, it is most basic to expand the prestige of the dynasty. Yes, King Tianyu didn't talk nonsense. His Majesty sent a god-slaying guard to help him, so he didn't need to worry about whether he could win it. The strongest of the first-class forces are only in the middle stage of the Dharma realm. Those who attack at the peak of the Dharma appearance realm can only catch them easily. 3 days later, stare. Congratulations to the host, the prestige value of Tianyan Dynasty has increased by 120, and the current prestige value is 1,320. Reward gift package has been sent. In his own palace, Dongfang Yuan suddenly received news of the improvement of this system. After calculating the time, King Tianyu should have finished solving it, so the prestige of the dynasty will increase. System, open the reward package. Dongfang Yuan did not hesitate and opened the gift package without saying a word. Congratulations to the host, you have obtained the 5th grade enlightenment pill X1, the semi-saint palace protector array X1, and the god of war flying puff X1. God of war Feipeng. Dongfang Yuan was a little confused. Just when I was still wondering whether the god of war Feipeng was the one he had in mind, the rewards had already been distributed. Call out. Time, a pill appeared in Dongfang Yuan's hand, as well as a sect-protecting formation that shrunk to the palm of his hand. In addition, there was a man wearing silver armor and holding a demon-suppressing sword. He had a sword-shaped eyebrow, a straight nose, and bright eyes. Fuck. It's really General Feipeng. Dongfang Yuan was shocked, and even more delighted. Unexpectedly, General Feipeng was summoned by the system. Feipeng, I have met the master. Feipeng was summoned by the system and was, % loyal to Dongfang Yuan, so he immediately saluted him. General, no need to be polite, please get up. Dongfang Yuan immediately signaled. System, open Feipeng's information panel. Name, Feipeng. Treasures, sky silver armor, demon suppressing sword. Qualification, infinite. Physique, invincible divine body. Destiny luck value, 98. Cultivation realm, 9th level of Tianzun realm. After learning Feipeng's information, Dongfang Yuan went completely crazy and couldn't help the excited smile on his face. He felt as if he had found a treasure, with joy on his face. The 9th level of Heavenly Lord realm is only one step away from being a semi-saint. Furthermore, Feipeng's qualifications are so strong, and his combat power at the same level must be astonishing. Now that we have him, there are very few forces in the northern region that can stop the pace of our Tianyan dynasty. Dongfang Yuan was very excited, and then he looked at the other 2 rewards. 5th grade enlightenment pill. If taken at the peak of the Dharma realm, you can break through to the heavenly realm without side effects. Semi-saint level palace protection formation, can block the attacks of semi-saints and below powerful people. Dongfang Yuan was very satisfied after understanding these 2 things. Basically, the overlord forces all have their own palace protection formation. Now that Tianyan Dynasty has this, and with Feipeng, the 9th level of Tianzun realm, their Tianyan Dynasty is already far away from transforming into an overlord-level force. Not much further, after Dongfang Yuan thought about it for a while, he had a new plan in his heart. He arranged the palace protection formation in the Tianyan Palace, and conferred the title of General Feipeng to protect the country, letting him sit in the Tianyan Palace, and he himself, relying on his Tianzun realm cultivation, left the Tianyan Dynasty overnight and headed towards the Daming Dynasty. Inside the palace of the Daming Dynasty, in the 3rd princess's palace, the 3rd princess Xiao Qingli was sitting in her room wearing a crystal blue dress. She has a fairy-like appearance, flawless white skin, and an even more graceful figure. She has a slim waist, round hips, and convex curves. She is really graceful, but at this time, Xiao Qingli had an icy temperament all over her body, like an iceberg beauty, keeping strangers away. There was a hint of chill in her beautiful eyes. I didn't expect that this kind of thing would happen to me just after my memory awakened. Damning Dynasty, you guys are really kind. That there was a hint of pure murderous intent and anger in Xiao Qingli's eyes. She is the third princess of the Great Dream Dynasty, but now that all her memories have been awakened and restored, she finally understands who she is. Chapter 8-9 You Empress. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Her name is Xiao Qingli, and she is titled Empress of the Nine Netherworlds. She is the master of the Sea of Nine Netherworlds, and she once controlled a holy river. She is a well-deserved peerless empress, but because of a catastrophe, she almost lost her soul in that catastrophe. At the critical moment, she exhausted her life's soul power, and a ray of main soul came to this world with all the memories of her life. He successfully took away the third princess of the Dream Dynasty who was just born, but had the same name as him, and was reborn, but because the injury to her soul was too severe, her memory only awakened 20 years later, so she always thought that she was Xiao Qingli, but at this moment, when she mentioned the Great Dream Dynasty, she was filled with overwhelming hatred. She wished she could tear the emperor of the Great Dream Dynasty into pieces and die. It turned out that she only learned about it not long ago. The reason why Damning Dynasty was able to successfully invite Shuiying Studio to jointly set up a trap to kill Emperor Tianyan was because she, Xiao Qingli, was the bargaining chip. The emperor of the Dream Dynasty promised the Shuiying Tower that as long as he succeeded in killing the emperor of the Tianyan Dynasty, he would send Xiao Qingli away to marry the young master of the Shuiying Tower, Guanxingyu. Guanxingyu, the young master of the Blood Shadow Tower, has an extremely bad reputation throughout the Northern Territory. He has already completed the 1,000 slashes in a row, and he is also famous for being a womanizer. Even controlling 10 women in one day can be regarded as just a basic operation. Handing Xiao Qingli to him was simply sending a sheep into the tiger's mouth. Xiao Tianding cannot be ignorant of this truth. Xiao Tianding, Xiao Junchen, when I rebuild it for another 10 years, I will send you to hell. Xiao Qingli's eyes were filled with murderous intent at this moment. The Xiao Junchen she was talking about, whose name was Prince Shen, was the younger brother of the Emperor Xiao Tianding, and he was also a strong man at the peak of the Dharma realm. The most urgent thing is to leave this place of right and wrong first. Xiao Tianding is leading his troops to attack Tianyan. He has no time to take care of me yet. Now is the best time. Xiao Qingli decided in her heart that now that her cultivation level was not enough, she had better avoid it first. With her own talent and the memory of her life as emperor, she has the confidence that she can break through to the heavenly master in just a few years. At that time, it will be the day for him to start liquidating Xiao Tianding and others. Xiao Qingli got out of bed and immediately packed up her things. When she walked to the door, she suddenly thought, the old thief is not here, and Xiao Junchen is not wary of me yet. In this case, I might as well search and go. Thinking of this, Xiao Qingli also made up her mind and went directly to the treasure house of the Dream Dynasty. As the Empress of Jiuyou, she naturally did not take a fancy to the treasures of the Damning Dynasty, but that was once after all. Nowadays, her cultivation level is only at the peak of the Earth Profound realm, and she is extremely weak. The things in the treasure house are still very useful to her, and just when Xiao Qingli secretly sneaked into the treasure house and began to search for the resources of the Damning Dynasty, a figure also ushered in the palace of the Damning Dynasty. Dongfang Yuan came all the way from Tianyan Dynasty and appeared directly in the sky of the palace of Damning Dynasty. His figure was undisguised, his dragon robe swaying in the wind, and he looked at the Damning Palace with an indifferent expression. Xiao Tianding probably never expected that he would lead his people to conquer the Tianyan Dynasty, but Dongfang Yuan planned to steal his house directly. Presumptuous! How dare you break into the palace of my Dream Dynasty? Are you tired of living? The next second Dongfang Yuan's figure appeared in the palace. It immediately aroused the vigilance of the strong men of the Dream Dynasty. The figures of the imperial guards guarding the palace appeared across the sky, wearing armor, and thousands of figures directly surrounded Dongfang Yuan. In addition, 7 or 8 Dharma realm experts also flew up from various palaces and stood in the void. Their aura locked on Dongfang Yuan. Dongfang Yuan glanced around and saw the two figures at the front, a burly middle-aged man, wearing a python robe, whose cultivation is at the peak of the Dharma realm. If he is not mistaken, he should be Xuanhuan Xiao Junchen, but the other one was an old man wearing plain robes. and his cultivation was also at the peak of Dharma realm. Dongfang Yuan had some guesses that this old man was not from the Tianyan Dynasty. Who are you? You dare to break into the palace of my dream dynasty in broad daylight. If you don't give me a reasonable explanation, there is no need to leave today. Xiao Junshan was standing on the middle sky at this moment, questioning and shouting at Dongfang Yuan. I came today and had no intention of leaving. And my purpose is also very simple, that is to destroy your dream dynasty. Dongfang Yuan said calmly. Court death. When Xiao Junshan saw Dongfang Yuan's verbal provocation, he immediately took action. The palm of his hand made a palm print, and the huge palm shadow suddenly rushed towards Dongfang Yuan like a cloud, but the next moment, the huge palm print disappeared with just a wave of Dongfang Yuan's hand. What? You, how could you have such strength at such a young age? Dragon robe? Who are you? Xiao Junshan was extremely surprised to see that his offensive was easily neutralized by Dongfang Yuan, and the old man next to him was also a little surprised and couldn't help but frown. After starting to pay attention to Dongfang Yuan, Xiao Junshan even discovered that Dongfang Yuan was wearing a dragon robe, which was not something ordinary people were qualified to wear. For a while, he was confused about his identity. My Emperor Tianyan, Dongfang Yuan. Dongfang Yuan said in an indifferent tone. The useless prince of Tianyan Dynasty, Dongfang Yuan. Impossible. Dongfang Yuan is well known as a waste of cultivation, how could you be Dongfang Yuan? Xiao Junshan was deeply shocked after hearing this, with a look of disbelief on his face. Ah! The rise of truly smart people often leads to a blockbuster success. Before your wings are full, if you are too showy, it is not something a smart person would do. Dongfang Yuan's tone was relaxed and indifferent, and he walked slowly towards the front. Have you been pretending before? Xiao Junshan was extremely frightened when he thought about it. He felt deeply frightened and could not help but shudder. At such a young age, he learned to be forbearing and restrain his sharpness. For a long time, he had been wearing the title of useless prince and enduring criticism from others. In fact, Dongfang Yuan was the most evil genius in the Tianyan Dynasty. The old man next to him also looked frightened, and his pupils couldn't help but shrink suddenly. Is Dongfang Yuan of the Tianyan Dynasty really a monster? Is he even more evil than his brother who has the supreme bone? These doubts suddenly filled the old man's heart, causing his eyes to be fixed on Dongfang Yuan for a while. Go together. Kill him for me. Seeing Dongfang Yuan's eyes looking at him, Xiao Junshan reacted and immediately waved his hand, letting thousands of imperial guards attack Dongfang Yuan together. Kill. In addition to this, there are 5 other Dharma realms who also took action. They are all strong men from the Tianyan Dynasty who stayed in the palace. At this moment, they all gathered a powerful offensive force and suddenly killed towards Dongfang Yuan. Rumble. Rumble. There was a huge sword shadow hanging in the sky, up to 1,000 meters long, and when it was chopped down with one strike, it shook the heavens and the earth. Some people even condensed countless flaming meteors, and the sky seemed to be burned red for an instant, and they crashed down fiercely like meteorites falling from the sky. There are also pieces of poisonous clouds that gather together to form a dense poisonous mist that shrouds from the top. All kinds of magical moves emerge endlessly, and the magical powers of the powerful in the Dharma realm explode in an instant, gathering fire on Dongfang Yuan alone. Dongfang Yuan looked at the dense offensives all around him, attacking and killing him. His face was not afraid at all, and he even showed a faint smile. Call all the people for me, but it saves me the trouble of killing them one by one. Chapter 9: The Power of Dongfang Yuan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this time, after everyone focused on themselves, Dongfang Yuan also took action. He slowly raised his right hand, and then an unparalleled pressure from the heavenly realm swept out of him like a tsunami, crushing him in all directions. Dongfang Yuan didn't hold back at all, and his Tianzun realm power was like holy light. It exploded in an instant and enveloped all the people of the Dream Dynasty. Immediately afterwards, those Dharma realm offensives were completely crushed into powder by Dongfang Yuan's coercion. Bang bang bang. Then came the imperial guards of the Great Dream Dynasty and those powerful men in the Dharma realm. Their faces were horrified, and they were crushed by the power of Dongfang Yuan, because their bodies could not withstand such a powerful force. Their souls and bodies exploded collectively in the sky. It turned into a puff of blood mist, in the entire sky, except for Dongfang Yuan. The only people alive now are Xiao Junchen and the old man at the peak of the Dharma realm. Xiao Junchen's face was completely shocked and stunned. As if he was petrified, his expression was dull, and he stood motionless. There was a look of disbelief and horror on his face, and he couldn't believe what he was seeing, all dead. The people of his damning dynasty were all crushed to death by Dongfang Yuan's pressure. The most important thing is this child's cultivation level. Heavenly realm. Tianzun realm in his 20s. What kind of joke is this on Nima? In the entire history of the Northern Territory, there has never been such a monster. While Xiao Junchen was still horrified, Dongfang Yuan stepped forward slowly. After Xiao Junchen reacted, he immediately said in panic, "Dongfang Yuan, you can't kill me. My dream dynasty has now formed an alliance with Fenchen Island. If you dare to touch me, my imperial brother will definitely not let you go." Fenchen Island is also a top force in the Northern Territory. Moreover, the power and foundation of Fenchen Island are still higher than those of the Damning Dynasty. Burning Sky Island, like Shuiying Tower, both have Tianzun realms. Among the top forces in the Northern Territory, Burning Sky Island is definitely among the best. Oh, Fenchen Island. So it seems that you are from Fenchen Island. That at this time, Dongfang Yuan stopped and looked at the old man next to him. The old man also reacted after trembling. When he saw Dongfang Yuan stopped when he heard the name of their Fenchen Island, he thought he was afraid of their Fenchen Island. Not bad. I am the third elder of Fenchen Island, Sai Linmu. The old man announced his name. Dongfang Yuan nodded, then showed a smile and asked, "Has your Fenchen Island formed an alliance with the Damning Dynasty?" Good. We, Fenchen Island, and the Damning Dynasty are allies. We share blessings, bear hardships together, and advance and retreat together. Your Majesty, for the sake of my Fenchen Island, let this matter go as it is. If you leave like this, I won't pursue it. Sai Limu was still playing word games with Dongfang Yuan at this moment. He won't pursue it, but that doesn't mean Fenchen Island won't pursue it. At the moment, he just wants to save his life. After all, he doesn't dare to show off too much in front of the Tianzun realm. But who would have thought that after hearing his answer, Dongfang Yuan's power slowly rose in his hands. It would be easier if we are actually allies. You, Fenchen Island, will be destroyed together with the Great Dream Dynasty. What? Before Sai Limu could react, Dongfang Yuan blasted out a palm print from his palm. He treated Sai Limu's body like a firework and exploded with a slap of his palm. The blood-colored fireworks, accompanied by the extremely rich smell of blood, bloomed directly in the bright sky with a scarlet color, which was really charming. When Xiao Junchen saw this, his face was extremely frightened. He immediately bit the tip of his tongue and used a secret method to escape, but at the next moment, Dongfang Yuan stretched out his hand, and an invisible palm pinched his neck, and then lifted him up high, with his legs straight and suspended in the void. Cough cough, cough. Xiao Junchen's whole face turned red from suppressing it. It felt like his soul was being suffocated. Dongfang Yuan's power was too overbearing and he couldn't bear it at all. Although he struggled desperately, his pursuit was fruitless. Finally, with Dongfang Yuan's force, Xiao Junchen's neck was directly cut off by him, and his body fell down. After Dongfang Yuan killed these people, he spread his soul out, and within a short time, it enveloped the entire palace, with the sole perception of the Tianzun realm. He has been looking for the location of the third princess Xiao Qingli, but what surprised him was that Xiao Qingli was not in her bedroom. As a result, he spread his soul thoughts to every place in the palace. Finally, in the treasure house deep in the palace, Dongfang Yuan felt Xiao Qingli's aura. Got you. He. A smile appeared on Dongfang Yuan's face, then he pointed his finger in the direction of the treasure house, and a force isolated the treasure house from the outside world. Even if the sky outside collapsed, the people inside the treasure house would not feel any movement at all. After isolating the treasure house, Dongfang Yuan's aura was undisguised. and the panic of the Tianzun realm spread to every corner of the damning imperial city, brutally massacring the officials and soldiers of the Tianyan Dynasty. Chapter 10 Slaughter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. My God, a powerful person in the heavenly realm. How could I, the Dream Dynasty, provoke such a powerful person? Boom! The Imperial Palace. It's the Imperial Palace. The Imperial Palace collapsed. That's the God of Death. It's the God of Death. Run! Run! Ah! For a time, all the officials related to the Tianyan Dynasty, including their families, as well as the generals and soldiers, were bloody massacred in the entire Tianyan Dynasty. Dongfang Yuan showed the appearance of the Heavenly Lord. A 1,000-meter-high shadow stood in the palace of the Tianyan Dynasty, directly raising the entire palace to the ground, and they locked on the officials in the imperial city, and launched a series of offensives like divine punishments into the mansion, killing the entire mansion. The 20 soldiers left behind by the Tianyan Dynasty were all stationed in the city and were completely defeated by Dongfang Yuan's force, and they were all turned into mutilated corpses, in less than half a stick of incense. All the officials and soldiers who stayed in the Tianyan Dynasty were all dead, and Dongfang Yuan did not leave a single person alive. The entire imperial city was filled with blood, and there was a thin layer of blood mist floating in the air. Even the air you breathed was filled with the extremely rich smell of blood. Some ordinary people in the city were so frightened that they all hid in their homes. The gods fought and the mortals suffered. Many people are relatively weak in cultivation. When a giant at the Tianzun level takes action, they can only hide aside, hoping not to implicate them. However, although Dongfang Yuan was decisive and ruthless, he did not kill innocent people indiscriminately. Those who were hiding in their mansions were basically unharmed. However, at this time, it was still within the treasure house of the Tianyan Dynasty. Xiao Qingli was even more cruel. She had already tied more than 10 storage bags around her waist, which contained the heritage and precious resources of the Dream Dynasty. The shelves in the treasure house were originally dozens of shelves filled with things. At this moment, there are indeed 2/3 of the empty shelves. As for the remaining ones, Xiao Qingli is not ready to let them go, and keeps stuffing them into his space ring. You dare to use this emperor as a bargaining chip and a mere Dharma state. You really don't know how high the earth is. When I plunder all these resources from your Dream Dynasty and concentrate on training for more than 10 years, when I come back, it will be the day when the Dream Dynasty and the Blood Shadow Studio will be destroyed. Xiao Qingli kept holding the resources on the shelf while speaking decisively. Probably less than a cup of tea has passed. Her space ring was also completely filled. Looking back, the dozens of shelves in the treasure house of the Dream Dynasty are almost all empty now. There are only 3 shelves with some items on them, but they are all spiritual stones, elixirs, and spiritual weapons of relatively ordinary value. As for those precious heaven and earth spiritual objects, all of them have now been collected by Xiao Qingli. Almost. These things are enough for me to use for more than 10 years. Humph. I really want to see what the old thief's expression will be like when he comes back and sees that his treasure house has been emptied out after he destroys the Tianyan Dynasty. At this moment, Xiao Qingli also thought that when Xiao Tianding came back, she would definitely be gnashing her teeth and thundering in anger when she saw this scene, and she couldn't help but feel a little happy. After she packed her things, she walked towards the door of the treasure house. Opening the door of the treasure house, Xiao Qingli walked out cautiously with a dozen storage bags in her body, but when she saw the scene outside, she was immediately dumbfounded. This. Xiao Qingli was completely stunned at this moment. She couldn't even react. The scene in front of her was still the palace. At this moment, the surroundings of the treasure house are all in ruins, with broken walls and ruins everywhere. It was a stark contrast to before she entered the treasure house. At this time, Xiao Qingli stood there, looking at the ruins all around her, and she couldn't help but frown. What the hell does this happen? I've only been in for less than half an hour. How could the palace of the Dream Dynasty become like this? That just when Xiao Qingli was still confused, a figure slowly walked up to her side. Who? Xiao Qingli immediately became alert, turned around, and looked at the person with alert eyes. Dongfang Yuan slowly stopped at this time and stood in front of Xiao Qingli. I have to say that he must be someone who once stood on top of the world. Let alone his appearance, his temperament alone has already surpassed thousands of women in the world. After Dongfang Yuan saw Xiao Qingli, he felt the difference in her temperament. It was a feeling of strong attraction to him. He couldn't help but raise his head and thought to himself, and Xiao Qingli's appearance is even more outstanding. Xiao Qingli herself has the title of the most beautiful woman in the Dream Dynasty, otherwise, why would Guan Xingyu, the young master of the Blood Shadow Studio, be obsessed with her? My emperor, Dongfang Yuan. After Xiao Qingli asked him a cautious question, Dongfang Yuan also answered with a slight smile on his face. Dongfang Yuan, Prince of the Tianyan Dynasty, why are you here? Xiao Qingli frowned. She had naturally heard of Dongfang Yuan, but she didn't understand how the Prince of the Tianyan Dynasty could appear in the damning palace. And what is going on with the situation in front of me? Correction, I am now the monarch of Tianyan, and my title of Crown Prince is the same as before. As for why I appear here, there are 2 points. The first is to destroy the Dream Dynasty. Second, it's for you. Dongfang Yuan said leisurely in a tone that showed the man's confidence. Is it just you who will destroy the Dream Dynasty? Although Xiao Qingli didn't know what was going on with the scene in front of her, she didn't believe that Dongfang Yuan alone could destroy the Dream Dynasty, but before she could continue, Dongfang Yuan's aura of Tianzun realm began to emanate. This directly changed Xiao Qingli's expression. You are in the heavenly realm. That the aura was right in front of him, and Xiao Qingli couldn't bear to believe it, but she was still extremely shocked, and even had some doubts about whether Dongfang Yuan had been taken away by someone. Otherwise, a person in the Tianzun realm in his early 20s would definitely be extremely explosive in this place in the Northern Territory. With my cultivation in the heavenly realm, it shouldn't be difficult to destroy a great Dream Dynasty. Dongfang Yuan stretched out his arms and smiled lightly. Then, what do you want me to do? I am also a member of the Tianyan Dynasty. Why don't you kill me? Xiao Qingli's brows were furrowed. She always felt that Dongfang Yuan knew something, but she was not sure.